Hello, this is Jamie Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. So first we have, Big Lie Belief Now, a purity test from Patam 13. And they said, remember the kerfuffle over the hiring and subsequent firing of Ron McDaniel by NBC, where she was pushed out by staffers who didn't want to associate with someone who, among other problematic actions, supported and pushed Trump's big lie about the 2020 election being fraudulent. Well, apparently there's a flip side to this. New RNC, chaired by Lara Trump, is now disqualifying candidates and people who already have positions in their organization if they don't support the big lie. As amusing aside, they're also being told that they may need to move to Palm Beach, Florida to keep their jobs, and that's linked to a Washington Post article about that. And I said, if Willpower 69 said, I wonder if Lindsey Graham will be proved right on his claim that Trump will kill the Republican Party. And I said, I wish, but if it's still a viable party after a decade of Trump in charge, I don't think so. I personally don't really care for Trump, or if you want to say the election's fraudulent, I think you should say the election's fraudulent. If the RNC wants to force their candidate to say that as a private organization, I think they should be able to. But with that being said, I personally think, if you want to believe the election's rigged, you should be able to believe that. But with that being said, I don't think people should be forced to believe it if they don't want to. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have UN expert in Israel genocide accusation says she has been threatened from MiddleEastMonitor.com by Frosty Slawman. And, I definitely don't think that's, good. We shouldn't be threatening other people, even if you disagree with them, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, this one is for Jim. We all know he defends the Orange Man from Ragnar OKXG, and it's a tweet from Charlie Strauss, or, I think it's a tweet, maybe it's something else, but, It's, why is Donald Trump suddenly selling $60 Bibles? Answer, enables churches to funnel money without violating the U.S. law. Ban on political campaigning by churches. It's a form of money laundering, in other words. And I said, Donald Trump might be a grifter. Donald Trump is a grifter, but all politics is grift these days, as is pretty much everything else. And that's what I think about that issue. Then we have Katie Porter brings the heat from posted by Baton 13, and that's a YouTube video from the TYT investigates reports, so the Young Turks. And I said, Katie, it's okay when I say elections are rigged, Porter. If she really wanted to attack corruption on both sides, like she says in the video, she should have supported the impeachment against Biden, but as shown in the video, she easily folds on that part. She's one of the quote-unquote progressives who will always toe the DNC line when push comes to shove. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, who would I vote for in every U.S. presidential election, from Monzir Z on YouTube, and I posted that, and I said, I did this a while ago too, who would I vote for in every U.S. presidential election. It's a great exercise, and I would definitely recommend it. Then we have exposing the most corrupt mayor in America from Tommy G on YouTube, and that was posted by Chad Muffin, and I said, love that this is downvoted since she has a D next to her name. I'm pretty sure if she had an R next to her name, it would probably be upvoted, but it's downvoted here because I think she has a D next to her name, which just goes to show you that even if you're in a position even if you're corrupt as hell, and even in a position as lowly as mayor of Dalton, Illinois, they won't come after you as long as you have the correct letter next to your name. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Paleo Diet Puzzle 35 from Reason, and I posted that, and I said, think this is the first one I completed in under 4 minutes, just snuck in with 3 minutes, 58 seconds. So that's my thought on that. Then we have, yesterday, at LP National was contacted by an FBI field agent alleging that one of our social media assets has been compromised by a hostile foreign government. She refused to disclose how the FBI came by this information, who the threat was, or specifically what the threat was, from LP National on Twitter, and I posted that. And I said, status, everyone I don't like is literally a hostile foreign asset. That's pretty much what this is, I think, the FBI and CIA and all the alphabet agencies have been yelling Russian misinformation for years. No one really believes it anymore. And I'm concerned about hostile foreign governments to some extent, I would say. But they just can't be your excuse for everything. And I think our main concern should be the hostile domestic government. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, instead of putting America first, our legislators would rather fund the Israeli government's genocide of the Palestinian people from International Silver One. And that's some pictures from NotMyTaxDollars.org. $3.8 billion value. Healthcare for 1,322,199 children. If the U.S. stopped arming Israel, 1,322,199 more children could get the care they need for Medicaid. $3.8 billion value. Public housing for 451,735 families. If the U.S. stopped arming Israel, 451,735 families could be safely housed for $2.8 billion value. Student debt canceled for 100,563 people. And I definitely would agree, those would all be much more better use of taxpayer dollars than just sending them to countries like Israel or Ukraine. That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Twitter caught selling data to government spies while complaining about surveillance from Futurism.com by Donald P. And I said, people only care because Elon bad is the current narrative. All the other social media sites probably do it too, including this one. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have missing 14-year-old found stayed away in closet of man she met on Reddit, feds say from Charlotte Observer. And I posted that. And I said, just found this through the Reddit Lies Twitter account. It's insane how many creeps there are on this website. I personally think seducing a 14-year-old online, hiding them in your closet, is not libertarian. Also, I think it's funny that Reddit is now a public company. It still allows subreddits like r/runaway to continue to exist. You think that would have gone the way of r/jailbait by now. And that's my thoughts on that issue. But, they're saying, it's not related to libertarianism. But, I personally think, it's just, you can't criticize Reddit because, it's the narrative isn't right about because Elon doesn't run Reddit. I think that's my thought on that issue. Because, they want to go after Elon. That's why there's so many posts against Twitter rather than Reddit. And that's my thoughts there. Then we have cancel culture wokeism, humor from Clorox, and that seems to be a comment from shortpack.com. And the guy says to the other guy, you couldn't make Blazing Sails today, you can't get canceled. And the other apparently says, in the alternate universe where they made Blazing Sails today, the guy says Blazing Sails is woke garbage. And I said, yeah, I personally don't think, now, you have essentially, I would say, woke garbage, people inserting their agenda and politics into their movies. And that's why I think it is. With that being said, now you can't, as you see in we go on to some comments on the new Avatar live action television series. It's really based on the old cartoon series, and where they changed some of the characters' personalities because they may be problematic IRL. And I said, it's funny how you can't have any characters might be seen as problematic in real life today. That's more woke than anything else, I think. So increasingly, you can't have anything that might be seen as offensive. And that's why I definitely don't think you could make Blazing Sails today, because he might be seen as offensive by some people, and that's why I think you can make things that are offensive, I would say, but you have to be the good kind of offensive. They can only be they can't be misogynist, but they can be misandrist. They can't be racist to black people, but they can be racist to white people. Those are the rules. You're only allowed to be the good kind of offensive and not the bad kind of offensive, and that's why I would consider woke media to be. Then we have new wrinkle in the FBI saga. Here's a letter the LNC allegedly received from the FBI from Legio X, and that's a tweet from Fakertarians on Twitter. And I said, might have been a scam. Then again, the FBI branch is already a scam along with the rest of the federal government. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have, which flavor of authoritarianism do you prefer, from Chad Muffin, and that's a comment from Stone Toss. And it's one guy on his phone, he says, should I try TikTok? And the other guy says, no, the Chinese will spy on you. And then the FBI agent's on their computer viewing their conversation. And I said, you can't share Stone Toss, he's literally Hitler, but I did in SpongeBob meme text where you capitalize every other letter. And, it's kind of to mock the idea of, oh, you can't share anyone who we deem to be offensive or else we'll come after you, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have FBI comes to Muslim woman's home in plain clothes to question her about Facebook post from Anarcho Federation, and that's crossovers from the ACAB subreddit. And I said, I'm sure if she was a MAGA Republican, this subreddit would be fine with it. People, I remember the FBI did come to a guy's house because he threatened Joe Biden online. They ended up killing him when he pulled a gun on them. And it just goes to show you that the FBI can come to your house regardless of your political persuasion. That's why we can't trust them. And, that's why I think, you should lock your doors if they ever try and knock on them, and come back with a warrant mat on your as your mat to the as your welcome mat. So that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Alabama town hasn't held elections in decades, sued to allow voting from theguardian.com, from Clorox, and that's crosswords from the r/law subreddit. And I definitely think we should, if people places want to have voting, they should be able to have voting. But with that being said, I think democracy is simply tyranny of the majority, and that's just going to force people to obey whatever the law is based on whatever the majority says. So that's important to remember as well. Then we have Israel's High Court says the government must stop funding seminaries. Could that topple Netanyahu from APnews.com by Patam Furtan. And, I personally don't think that's going to topple Netanyahu. I don't think anything's going to topple that guy, He feels like he's been in power for forever. And, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. Then we have how Me Too became too cringe for America from Unheard. And I posted that, and I said, I remember, that's an article about how Christine Blasey Ford, the woman who accused Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault in 2018, is now pretty much irrelevant, and people have moved on to other things. And I said, I remember when you couldn't go anywhere without hearing that woman's name. Now she's irrelevant. Just goes to show you that it's really just whatever the outrage of the week is above all else. As Rosenfield writes in the article, in the end, our national discourse is governed not by ideology, but by political expediency. The movements are a means, not an end. And I think that's very much true, It's whatever the TV or social media tells you to be mad at, rather than generally looking at issues. That's what the discourse seems to be these days. Then we have coming to an American city near you from Chad Muffin. That's a crossword from the Palestine subreddit. How pro-Palestinian protesters are treated in Germany. And they were just pulled aside by the police this is a sit-in in the Berlin Central Station. According to the Post, this person was not the sit-in at the Berlin Central Station, but was not gone for protest to be treated this way by police. The German state is doing its best to suppress any pro-Palestinian voices to make it look like a population standing by its genocidal antics. While I'm sure part of the German population is in support of the war, I personally think the large majority simply don't care and don't want to speak up in classic German bystander tradition. But it's especially among the younger generation, there are many who do care, and I feel the need to show you that all hope is not lost for all of us. Freed Palestine from Germany. And I definitely don't think that's good. I don't think, you should be blocking traffic, but that being said, I definitely do think, if you want to justify something like standing in the road to block traffic, that's on you, I personally don't care for that, but that being said, I definitely don't think police fortunes is the answer to that, I think if you want to remove people who are in your way, I think you should be able to, but I don't think the state should be doing that, the state, I don't think should be doing anything in regards to force, and that's my fault on that issue. Then we have investigative issues, the coming electricity crisis from realclearinvestigations.com by Ninja Lover. And I definitely do do think that might be coming. Hopefully we'll find a way to get enough power to keep us sustained, and that's my fault on that issue. Then we have our Trump reporting to upset some readers, but there aren't two sides to facts. Letter from the editor from cleveland.com by Ninja Lover. And I personally think if they want to think that what they want to think what they're sharing is facts, they should be able to. But that being said, no one is entitled to believe any source as long, and they're free to believe whatever source they want to. If they don't want to believe Cleveland.com and go somewhere else, I think they should be able to, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have No Shame from Clorox, and that's a cross post from the White People Twitter subreddit right on cue, and it's about how it's about looks like a conversation on Twitter. Beer person says, I just know that one of the first conservative, insane person posts we'll see in the morning about the bridge collapse incident will somehow relate to wokeness or DEI or insane bigotry. It's not even, if it's basically, it's a matter of time than Stone Tuska's comic was, but the woke person says, but our economy needs more foreign workers, and then the boat hits the bridge. And, yeah. And, yeah, I definitely would agree with that, Like, a lot of people these days seem to use issues to really push their agenda rather than anything else. I'm sure if the left would probably say it was all Russia's fault if they could. I'm surprised they didn't go with that or out with the Russia cyber hacking or something. But yeah, it just goes to show you that everything's just being pretty much used to push an agenda today rather than actually people don't care about the violence or the tragedies. They just care about whatever their agenda is, and that's my fault on that issue. Then we have what is the right libertarian stance on essentialism, and that's from Radical Libertarian, across from the Ask Libertarian subreddit. And I said, if you want to do it, like what Ninja Lover says, very similar to their stance on Brussels sprouts. I said, if you want to do it, you should be able to, as long as you don't force other people to do it as well. That's pretty much libertarian position on anything. I personally don't care for essentialism like race essentialism or gender essentialism or all the identity politics stuff. But if you want to do that, I think you should be able to, and that's my fault on that issue. Then we have Texas Appeals Court upholds rulings blocking state from investigating trans youth and their families from ACLUtext.org by Swamp Yankee Dan. And yeah, I guess that's good. I don't think the state should be investigating anything. I personally don't really care for trans youth. I do care for trans youth, but I just think that a lot of them are just kind of like, it's just kind of like a trend for them they're chasing. And they're just doing it to be cool rather than actually being trans. They might regret it later. But that being said, I don't think the state should be doing anything in regards to pretty much anything, because I think they don't, in regards to anything, they'll pretty much see their authority, and that's my fault on that issue. And finally, we have Fidelity cuts value of the X stake, implying 73% decline in former Twitter since Elon Musk's takeover from Fortune.com by Swamp Yankee Dan. And yeah, I think that personally it's more of an Elon bad post, but regardless, I definitely think that's why he wanted it out, because social media isn't. It's hard to monetize, and that's my thoughts on that issue. And let's see if there's anything new. Denmark to sell fire jets to Argentina following U.S. approval from BaltimoreTimes.com or Times or Buenos Aires Times, and that's from Ninja Lover. And yeah, I definitely think if people want to buy fighter jets, yeah, they should be able to. But with that being said, I don't know if fighter jets might be the best use of taxpayer dollars. And that's my fault on that issue. I personally like Malay, but I definitely don't think we should be. I wouldn't just be justifying spending $300 million US on fighter jets, and that's my fault on that issue. And I think we're gonna wrap up there. I'll see you guys in this episode. Bye.